call the Executive Committee meeting to order. Remind everyone it's their own responsibility to close any pecuniary interest you may have in today's agenda. And I think the first item on the agenda is we're going to deal with the Q4 annual business plan update. And the first one will be the Office of the CAO.
Through you, Mr. Warden, I'll give a review to begin with in terms of how we finished out the year. And prior to starting that, I will highlight that there's these little books that have been placed for all of you to enjoy reading and to take home. This is a document. It's actually written by the two facilitators that the county has been working with from Alpin Consultants. And we will be inviting all of you, if your schedules permit, to sit in on a couple of our training sessions for the lean processes. We thought that it may be something of interest for everyone. And it's likely to be the end of April or May. So we have the dates. They have been finalized. We're just trying to get a couple of the other details complete before we issue them. But I think you'll find this to be an easy read and also impactful, because it just puts it all into a nice little package about what we're trying to achieve. We're also providing these booklets to all of the union leadership to make sure that they are reassured in terms of the work and the desire of the program. Okay. So with that, Mr. Warden, I'll get right into the year report, year in review, and this will be relatively brief. Overall, we had another terrific year. As reported in Q3, we had a total of 73 particular projects. For clarity, the 73 excludes the detailed projects in both the transportation and environmental services, as well as in social services and affordable housing. But those projects can be reviewed through the capital initiative. In Q3, it had been reported that we were projecting to come in with a little over 80% of our projects completed. We had a couple of hiccups along the way in Q4, and our end of year, we've completed 44 of the 73 projects. Of those that remain open, 17 will be completed by the end of the first quarter, and 2 within house services will be carrying over into the balance of 2018. For clarity, the 10 of the 17 initiatives that remain open are items that are probably not a surprise to you. Project number 5 was the Bruce Lens and advancing that initiative, particularly with the county official plan. Projects 10 and 11 were merged. They were the telecommunications, and they've been merged into the Bruce Works for SharePoint, and that is one of the core objectives for 2018 for the corporation. Projects 40 and 45 are both in the area of human services and are, again, largely not due to staff issues, but due to external resources. Project 55, the McCurdy Bridge, again, you're well aware of the impact with that initiative and the requests that came forward from the contractor. Project 58 is the e-agenda. You're aware that the county has contracted with eScribe, and Donna Van Wyck is leading that initiative, and our goal is to go live by December for the first meeting of after the inauguration in December. Project 69 has been suspended at this point in time. Sorry, I just want to go back to the other page. And 68, 69, 71, and 73 are all connected to the work that we've done recently in the planning and development portfolio, and they will be coming forward in 2018. And in particular, Mayor Ann, the item on 69 in relation to the Kincardine official plan, we will be reaching out in terms of the at the next committee meeting about hiring a consultant and making the offer to your community to participate if you so wish, to make sure that it all gets completed at the same time.
Okay. I just haven't checked with staff, but we just thought we couldn't wait any longer, and we were thinking we were going to go out on our own, like, because we needed this done like a year ago, and I know it's been staffing and everything else, but so I'll consult with staff again. Thanks.
And then finally, Mr. Warden, the end of 2018, the finance team are continuing to finalize the books, but at this point, we do not have any concerns in terms of that we're likely to return to you an operational surplus. The external audit will obviously occur in the coming months, and once the results have been audited, then a fulsome report will come forward with requests for you to consider in terms of taking some of the operational savings that we've created by our process improvements and allowing some of that to be reinvested, excuse me, in particular with long-term care and transportation and environmental services. The other piece is that where we're sitting in terms of the 2018 year, the work that was completed in 2017, it's starting the new year in a really terrific place. So with that, I can answer any questions if you wish, Mr. Warden.
Any questions on that? Hearing none at this time, moving on. What's next on the agenda? This computer here is...
So next up, Mr. Warden, is the detailed annual business plans, and I'll go through the CAO first and then move forward from there to corporate services.
Very good, thanks.
Okay. So with the CAO's office, I will highlight, and I had this happen in Q3, so I apologize and promise to be more precise on a go-forward basis. The third KPI, you'll see that 2017 shows as 83.6% of the projects completed. That is a typo, and it will be corrected. It should be the 60.3%. The balance of the KPIs are all well within where we were projected to be for the year, and I have no concerns or issues in that area to report to committee members. Moving forward to the section dealing with the particular initiatives for the Office of the CAO, there were 7, and of the 7, you'll find a few of them are going to be reported on a couple of times because the directors completed a large part of the work. As always with the organization, we want our health and safety program to be front and center and of highest priority, so it shows as the first project. The work that's been done by the HR team with John Van Delden has been terrific, particularly in the area of the lockout tagout program. We have secured the software for maintaining and measuring our licensing, training, and certifications. Again, appreciate that with having 755 active employees, there's a lot of training and licensing that regularly has to be captured. Project number 2, the 150th initiative, we celebrated the time capsule event on December 21st, and the program has now officially completed. The time capsule contents are on a little bit of a tour and going to all of the local municipalities. Overall, that project is projected to come in at less than the budget of $115,000. Moving on, project number 3 was the continuation of developing a continuous improvement culture through professional development programs and other initiatives. As you experienced in December, we graduated the 5th cohort of the Loyalist program. On a go-forward basis, because we have now completed this training for the majority of our leaders within the organization, we'll continue to have new employees take part in that program, but it won't be held within Bruce County. We will be utilizing their services as they deliver. The mental wellness program is well into, at the end of 2017, was well into its first year of the program. The second annual survey for the Guarding Minds will be completed in May of 2018, and all of the senior management team have been promoting and working towards addressing the 3 core priorities for psychological and mental wellness for all staff within the organization. The 4th initiative was the Economic Development Program for the nuclear portfolio. At the end of 2017, it was with terrific pride that we were able to advise all of you that we had secured 10 new direct suppliers within Bruce County, including Kinetrix, Rolls-Royce, BWXT, and SNC Lavalin. Phase 2 started in July, and the upcoming months we will complete our work with the CNA conference and continue to enhance and expand the supplier presence across the county. Project number 5 was the Compliments and Concerns initiative. As you are aware, we had brought this forward to you at the end of 2016 and started it in 2017. And all the time, beginning in January of 2017, we were managing the complaint through the Ontario Ombudsman's Office. So the item and the functionality has now been completed on our website. The policy was brought forward to you for approval, and the county clerk is now completing a training module so that it will go to all staff to be trained on. And in a nutshell, the process is the staff will work to resolve the complaint, the issue, the concern, and be responsive to all citizens or ratepayers. And if we cannot satisfy or ultimately resolve their issue, we will A, report it to you, and B, refer the complainant to the Ombudsman's Office for them to resolve. And I'm proud to say so far we have had one complaint that has gone through the system, and it has worked well, and it was surrounding winter control that they thought was Bruce County, but it was not within our portfolio to resolve. But that did get communicated to the complainant, which was a nice one to work through. Moving forward, project number 6 was to continue to expand the cross-functional team work with the county. In particular, the 3 larger cross-functional groups were launched in the 3rd and 4th quarter of 2017, with the majority of their work beginning in 2017. Those being the Bruce Works, which again is the SharePoint, the Skype for Business, and Outlook on cloud. Outlook on cloud technology, using cloud technology. Communications, that group have completed the starting point for the internal pillar of the communications plan. They are working on the external and have completed the work for emergency communications or crisis communications, and that is expected to come before you in 2018 during the summer session in July. And then, of course, the lean processing we have raised with you throughout the year. And then finally, the Bruce Lenz. The HR group have worked to deal on the staff side of that initiative and have progressed that very, very well. And our next step is to initiate and complete it for the planning side of the house, planning and economic development. And our goal with that is to have it completed for your consideration by the end of Q1 of 2018. And that's my report, Mr. Warden.
Moving on to corporate services, Betty Ann.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. It's my pleasure to present the Q4 report, the wrap-up for 2017, and to highlight some of the information on the KPIs. The new insurance claims, this is our liability claims that are attached to a $25,000 deductible. In 2017, we stayed at the 1 throughout the year. The last time we had only 1 was in 2015. The introduction of the full-time CEMC, the Community Emergency Management Coordinator, in 2018, those job responsibilities include the insurance program and support of risk management initiatives, which will continue to minimize the corporation's exposure. Excuse me. Number of invoices processed weekly. This is a review of our accounts payable, and we note the continuing increase, but as a side note, the introduction of electronic fund transfers has certainly been welcomed by the vendors, so we call that EFTs, and it's a further step to modernizing our processes. And as our CIO mentioned, within the lean processing, this is one of the areas where we will be looking at corporately to how we continue to lean that process and modernize. The date the budget was adopted was on target, and with the tax rate bylaw scheduled to be adopted at the March session. Advancing the adoption of the budget enables management to begin the 2018 projects without delays. In an election year, this is not permitted, so the earliest the 2019 budget can be approved will be January 2019, just as a reminder. The percentage of goods and services purchased through the procurement process, the implementation of the modernized procurement policy streamlined and clarified processes, and it also eliminated the grandfathered social housing procurement policy and bringing them together as one. All staff recently received refresher training on the procurement policy from our purchasing manager, and that was very well received. The Loyalist program that was mentioned, we had scheduled to have 2 staff intended to complete that program, and technically they did. However, the web specialist completed the program, the training under the Planning and Development Department, as he had accepted the role of the project coordinator during 2017. So 2 staff did complete it. Just at the writing of this report, the one was only 1 remained within the corporate services department. Analysis of the website visits has been circulated, as has been previously in the past, and it shows comparisons to 2016. But I just want to point out that in many cases, this is not an apple-to-apple comparison because of the redesign and the implementation of the county website in July 2017. So the viewer is able to get to the pages quicker, and they're able to consume the same, if not better content, all on one page. So the page views may be less, but certainly the information that's getting to the viewer is more effective and a positive experience. So the decline shouldn't be seen as a negative. Rather, the page views is a good indicator that the content we are providing is important and it is valued. Of particular note is the success of the Bruce County 150 site. Certainly any time that there were events, and we heard a lot of feedback that people really enjoyed that site. And also of particular interest is the increase to the library site with all of the new technologies and opportunities that are presented to the person with a library card. We're certainly seeing that increase. And it's obvious that the public enjoys the museum photo site and the adventure passport site as well. The remainder highlights of the activities are related to the Information Technology Division's operational side, and they reflect a full accounting of all of the work, regardless of the origin. By utilizing the ticketing system more fully, it can be reported on more completely and gain insights into the trends so that the IT resources are organized to deliver valued services. And just as an example, when I was coming back into this meeting, Councillor Smith had made a visit to the IT division for some an update on his computer. So that would be logged as a ticket and recognized so that the work is included in that. So it's just a better way that we can really deliver the service and develop our work plan. So moving on from the KPIs is the initiatives within the department, and we had 4 in 2017. The first being the modernizing the operating and capital budget, the forecasting and the salary planning modules. And in 2017, you'll recall we introduced the capital template, and it was used for the development of the 2018 budget, mirroring the success of the operational budget template. And work is continuing with the new software for further modernization, and we'll have the launch and development of for the 2019 budget, for developing the 2019 budget. The second project initiative was the Integrated Energy Performance Project, and that's sprinkled within 4 different facilities, but particularly how it relates to corporate services was the initiative for this Park Street Administration Center. It's been a very successful partnership with Ecosystems to introduce the energy conservation measures, including the lighting, and we've seen some positive changes with that, and you even have the one light that's been changed here in the council chambers, so you're going to have to get used to it's going to get brighter and but more efficient. A fulsome report will be presented in 2018, including the financial component of that. And just as a reminder, I did present a report to committee in December where we talked about the Greenhouse Gas Challenge Fund, and we had submitted that application to looking at changing how we may complete some of the work in the long-term care. That was an application of over $600,000. We're very positive. The results are to be released in February, so we are hopeful for a positive outcome on that, and we'll report the results of that. Development, previously we've reported on the completion and success of the web team and the branding and imaging cross-functional team in 2017 as that was delivered at the summer session. The unified communications and the SharePoint infrastructure, number 4 and 5, as you know, they are now known as BruceWorks and are supported in the 2018 budget, and we have launched that project in Q1. It's off to a good start. Several staff participated last week in what we call a Microsoft customer immersion experience. It's basically a simulated office environment using many of the modern tools and exposing staff to that and prior to it being rolled out, and as we test to get us to that point. So those are the initiatives and the update for Q4.
Excuse me. Any questions of Betty Ann's Q4 report? Thank you, Betty Ann. Keep up the good work. Human Resources. Mary Ann.
Good afternoon. Well, I'm very pleased to be here to report on the year-end initiatives for the HR team. So in relation to 2017, we have our KPIs, which we were on track with. We were a little bit higher in the OSHA recordables, which we had noted coming out of the Q3 results that we were there. As you probably are aware, in 2018, we're doing a minor change to our KPI in relation to our incidents. And so we're going to be offering to also talk about lost time injury frequency. So to give you an idea, if that had been the KPI in 2017, Bruce County lost time injury frequency was 1.3, and employers offering a similar business is 2.3. So we're a good percentage under that. And in the non-lost time injury frequency, our rate was 3.1. And again, employers offering a similar service were at 4.2. It's also notable that we now have a 3-year trend in non-lost time injuries, which are medical aid only for the county. So we have a wonderful downward trend. So in 2015, we had 31, in 2016, 21, and in 2017, 12. So a substantial decrease in that. So it's not just a trend, it's actual fact. Okay, so now we're going to move off to the 2017 major initiatives. And so the first one was building capacity. And so within that, we were looking, as the CEO has already mentioned, to implement a lockout takeout program here at the county, which we have certainly undertaken. So it's a 3-year project to undertake that lockout takeout, given the number of facilities that we do have. But we're happy to be able to report that Bruce Lee Haven and Gateway Haven are complete. We also have completed the Museum and Cultural Center. Park Street, for the most part, is complete. There's a few minor things that have been identified that have a plan in place. And we also had the benefit of being able to go out and complete the courthouse complex in Q4. So that team was working right up to the end of the year to get all that accomplished. The health and safety tracking team, we now have it in place. And so in Q1 of 2018, we are now putting that into a live state. So we're very pleased. It's really going to help us certainly as an organization to be able to do a lot of tracking, but also access to critical safety data. And we do a lot of work here to do safety inspections as an example. And so all of our facilities have that happening on a regular basis, and all of that will be able to be consolidated into one vehicle. So from a management perspective, we're going to have a lot more visibility to it rather than shuffling paper and trying to make up Excel worksheets. So we're really looking forward to being able to have that access, and also some really good KPIs as a result of that as well. New for last year was also the ergonomic assessments, and obviously we're looking at high-risk assessments first, and that was clearly identified in our paramedic service, and so those ergonomic assessments were undertaken. And so now there's a 3-year plan in place now for what other assessments are to be done. We did start off in corporate services in December because they were available and ready to go, so we thank them for that. And then now we've moved over into long-term care. Under the initiative system developments, again, we are all complete here. So the new health and safety system is linked so that we have a one sign-on, as they refer to it, which is a great a deal for us not to be able to have to go out and have people remember additional passwords. We also implemented Org Plus, which will create organizational charts directly from our staffing population that's housed in Avanti. So again, a huge time saver because we've been doing all that process manually, and that takes certainly a lot of effort. So we're looking for that to be live and rolled out in Q1 of 2018. So we did have, as you may recall, a software that we were looking at in the summer of 2017 for performance management review forms, but we didn't go forward with that due to a system issue with the job evaluation project. So we did still go out and roll out the new performance evaluation form to all of our management team, but it's still paper to pen. So we have a little bit of work still to be done on that initiative going forward. The HR documentation has been updated to reflect our new branding, so we're really pleased about that. And still have a little bit more, again, that we want to continue to do as we look at things like recruitment fairs and such, but we're pleased to be able to report on that as well. Under the initiative Manage Workforce Risk, it was a very large initiative that we were undertaking with the non-union job evaluation program. So this is complete and delivered on time. And from that stemmed the non-union job description project, and that too was completed in Q4. We didn't utilize software for that initiative, so again, it was a fairly manual process, but it was done, and we certainly appreciate all the parties that helped us get, because you can't do that without a team initiative, so we certainly thank everybody that helped us to get that initiative done. In 2016 and 17, all the collective agreements were freely negotiated and ratified by the end of Q2. Advanced HR programs is the fourth initiative, and again, this initiative is complete. Our HR teams did participate in the cohort number 5. Bridges to Leadership was also completed. At the end of the leadership, we relaunched our software for Harvard Management, which is an online leadership tool for ongoing staff development. So all of those staff members that have participated in Loyalist now have access to the Harvard Management software, so they can continue to build their strength in that area. And that's it for us.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Through you, Mr. Warden, I would like to just make a comment, if I may, before opening it up for questions. And it's in relation to the KPIs and the sick time paid, just to highlight that a little bit, because it does appear as a very significant number, and it is a significant number. To put it into perspective, that's about 3% of salaries and wages on an annualized basis. And we had a number of very traumatic and unfortunate events occur in the county in 2017 for members of our team. So it is big, and it is out of character for us.
Thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions of Mary Ann, Human Resources Division? I have trouble keeping you ladies separated. No questions? Okay, thanks very much,
Thank
Mary Ann.
you.
Next up is the Paramedic Services, Michael. Good.
Mr. Chair, in front of you is a Q4 report for Paramedic Services, which has been pre-circulated. This is our continuance of the same key performance indicators that we started the year with. There's one notable piece that you'll notice in the 2018 projection. If I can take you to the cost per hour of ambulance service, you'll see a reduction of ambulance service costs per hour. This has been accomplished because we've added hours to it. What we've added is the 8,736 hours of superintendent vehicle presence in the field, which does provide care, does provide support to citizens, and it was an outlier. So that's been added in just to be more accurate with our numbers. If I might, and if there's no questions there, I'll go to our report on initiatives. Is that okay, sir?
Yeah, just carry on, please.
There are 7 initiatives to report on. The first was the merging of paramedic services with long-term care. That administratively has been completed. We continue to develop initiatives and synergies with long-term care services. We're sharing key performance indicators now on a weekly basis with regards to elements that relate to centralized scheduling. And to be clear, centralized scheduling is the largest initiative right now from paramedic services, which links with long-term care. There are ongoing information exchange meetings between the chiefs and the administrators so they can be aware of each other's activities and issues and concerns so that we can work on those jointly. And this alignment will continue into 2018 as we take a very deep dive into the various business units of each home and paramedic services to see what kind of synergies we can bring together in a more in-depth manner. So to be clear, the merging of long-term care and paramedic services has occurred, but centralized scheduling and other initiatives are very much alive and continuing. Number 2 is the paramedic service analysis between Grey and Bruce counties. This work was completed. We have limited our cooperative works with Grey County to that in the academic and curriculum area, where we've been developing and sharing curriculum and training resources over the last year with our colleagues in Grey County. The most recent focus has been to divvy up the load, if you would, on the design and delivery of programming that relates to the new provincial standards in paramedic services. We have also, as a result of the review and analysis of these, the potential combining of these 2 units, deemed that vehicle maintenance would be tendered to a third party, which it has been. With regards to the 2017 Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care Emergency Health Services Ambulance review, this work has been completed. We were commended for 5 areas of performance, and there was 10 observations made of the ministry regarding the paramedic services. All of these have been dealt with to the satisfaction of the ministry. Port Elgin Station, we still have a temporary lease at Port Elgin Station, and discussions are ongoing with Human Services about possible space needs and the possibility of developing a joint facility. That work continues. The development of a wellness program, including a post-traumatic stress debriefing process, this work has been completed. The plan, the requisite plan has been completed and sent to the ministry. Training of staff occurred at the end of April. And this program continues to be supported for paramedic services and will be expanded to long-term care homes this coming year. The 2 ambulances and 1 emergency response unit that were to be replaced last year, these vehicles have been acquired and are in service, and that initiative is completed, as is the upgrade to the Power Services stretcher loading system. These systems have been installed and staff have been trained at the end of April. And sir, that brings me to the end of this report.
Through you, Mr. Warden, excuse me, I would like to commend Michael and his team. We have had to launch the PTSD plan, and we've had to launch it 3 times in the last 10 months, and it has proven to be highly valuable and a very terrific addition to the program for our staff.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Mr. Warden. number one priority where we merged the two units, it says ongoing. What is left to do that? Is there any other personnel moves, or is it all just system moves now, or?
I'm sorry, sir, is there anything else to be done?
Yeah,
No, the program is up and running, and what we need to do now is maintain it. And we're making our staff consistently aware that it exists, and they now have a phone that they're able to phone and ask for assistance on a 24-hour basis from a colleague. This is in addition to the EAP program that they have.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Warden, was your question in relation to the merging of the services?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
that's all right.
Oh, sorry.
I was about it, Michael. I know.
That was a good idea.
I mean,
Sorry, that was-
so I guess my question was, is there more personnel moves or just system moves? Or are you in place now that that you've
There's-
merged and you're fine with it?
With regards to the full, and I apologize for the bunny trail, where we are right now is the centralized scheduling initiative is being upstaffed and equipped to function on its own. Right now, that's our prime directive, so or our prime goal, so that we can get stability in that area. That stability will bring us staffing stability. It'll bring us some more fiscal benefits. So that piece, to bring all of the three services together under one roof for consistent, competent, and transparent scheduling, that is ongoing now. I anticipate, notwithstanding we've had some few bumps, I would anticipate June of this year will be up to Hull speed, essentially. With regards to the other pieces, we're going to be doing a unit-by-unit view of how we can look at if you would, not so much amalgamating, but integrating the various business units. If I can give the example of environmental services, we're going to profile both homes and then have the environmental services folks come together and take a look at what each do, look for best practices, look for best savings, look for different things that we can share amongst the homes. We're going to do that for each one of the units with an understanding that we'll have, if you would, a business plan of further integration and movements down those pieces of the policies will be done by this time, the inventories, if you would, the examinations of both will be done by this time. Now, a lot of this is happening somewhat spontaneously and also guided by both administrators now, who are very much behind this and have been very supportive. So the next year we'll have us do a deep dive into all of those areas and take a look at where we can bring some of this integration together and have it done. There's no staffing changes or transfers anticipated at this time at any other level. Ma'am?
Through you, Mr. Warden, the only comment that I would add is in relation to the scheduling, as Michael will articulate, that will be effectively 1 year of work that it has taken, and we're very hopeful that it will be fully functioning by that point in time, hopeful with a detailed plan. The staffing side, we've had a very key member of our team off on a disability and illness claim, so we're that has impacted our progress quite substantially.
Anything else of Michael in the not long-term care, paramedic services? Hearing nothing, nothing at this time. I suppose we're just moving on to long-term care, Michael, when you're here.
Ma'am?
Or what? I don't know.
We okay with that?
Let's find out what we're doing. What are we doing?
We're good? Very good. Mr. Chair, I draw to your attention not only this report, but a condition that this report is given under. The Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care typically publishes its quarterly performance indicators 12 weeks after the end of each quarter. This report is only able to enunciate our last reported data, which was received from the ministry on September 30th, 2017. I'll be moving on, this has been pre-circulated, sir, and I'll be moving on, if there's no questions, to patient indicators.
You just carry on, Michael.
Very good. The patient indicators on page 2 of this report are within norms. We are working with our pharmacists at Bruce Lee Haven to address the needs of our patients by, through the use of less antipsychotic drugs. The addition of the sensory room, as approved by Council earlier this year, is also expected to have a positive impact on the number of staff requiring these drugs, or the number of staff requiring restraint. Pain management program is currently under review. The Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care's resident quality inspection has provided us valuable information and recommendations in this regard. With the alignment of homes, this continues to be implemented. The matching of policies in each home continues in 2 departments. 35 of the policies have now been matched to ascertain which is the most effective. This process will continue through further alignment initiative, which I've just spoken to, in the spring of 2018. Both homes are involved in the Registered Nurses Association organization on best practices, and are working together to implement best practices in the area of violence and patient falls. Non-union job descriptions have been now made identical through the assistance of the Human Resource Department, and we consult on matters of labor management relations through the holding of joint management labor meetings with Unifor with representations from both homes. Another initiative that has spoken to alignment is the development of a standard operating procedure for outbreaks, which is being used in both homes. I'm happy to report, in no small part because of that and the diligence of the staff at Gateway Haven, the outbreak that we've been currently experiencing has ended today. With regards to the replacement of the communication systems at Gateway Haven, a consultant was hired to assist with the development of an RFP in the summer of 2017. Subsequently, an RFP was issued in 2017, and a mandatory site visit for all bidders was attended in January of this year. The RFP closed on the 6th of February and is currently under review. Mr. Chair, the EFIS initiative for the external cladding of both homes has been assessed in a inspection which occurred on August 27th, or sorry, in August 2017. In the fall of 2017, an engineering report was conducted to provide a second opinion regarding the severity, the extent of deterioration, and the repair strategies repair strategies, options, and associated cost. A full report will be forthcoming to Council on that initiative. And that, sir, is the end of the report for long-term care homes.
Kelly?
Through you, Mr. Warden, I don't have any concerns or comments to make besides, as Michael articulated, with the standard operating procedure, which is truly the first made in Bruce County, made in the homes consistent application for outbreak. Bruce Lee, as of this very moment, has passed their longest time without an outbreak and are over 7 months without outbreak. And in this particular timeline, what we're dealing with across the sector, it's quite remarkable what they've done. And as Michael articulated, Gateway were in outbreak for a little over 9 days, and that's also a terrific achievement. It's a really big deal because while you're in outbreak, you cannot do any admissions into the home. So you never want to stay in outbreak for very long.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Congratulate your, sorry, oh, you're, sit down, we're not done yet. Ann, go ahead.
So the personal support workers, you know, that had been an issue getting enough at homes or any place, doesn't matter where it is in Ontario. And so I've just recently heard about, so personal support workers have, their training has increased over the years, but for some of the work now, the community nursing is training, doing training for more simplified work. And I just wondered if you'd heard anything about that. I was just thinking to alleviate shortages, maybe there's some of that work can be done, you know, where they're trained to do specific things and not so much, too much on the medical part. I just didn't know whether are familiar with that or not. In community nursing, they say the levels are, you know, an RN, RPN, personal support worker, home support worker. And they all have specific training. And the costs are different, you know, according to their training. So I just wondered if that was coming in for homes as well.
Mr. Chair, at this time, there's no change of scope of practice or no discussion of any new entry or practice levels within the homes. We're staying with our current scopes of practice and entry level.
Anyone else? I think you're free to go.
Thank you very much.
Human Services now, welcome.
Okay, good afternoon. Before you, we have our 2017 Q4 update for Human Services. And I'm happy to say that staff have successfully implemented activities to meet most of the goals that were identified in the plan. There were a few items, in particular note the implementation of the integrated housing system was deferred to 2018 due to delay in the actual program component development. And in the capital project summary, you will see that there is a project around parking, walkway, and stormwater improvements that we're carrying into 2018 as well. So then beginning with the KPIs, 9 of our 10 key KPIs, the target has been reached or surpassed. In particular, the average length of time clients are receiving social assistance has reduced from down to 23.5 months compared to 26 in 2016. 30% of the actions in our long-term housing plan have been met at this point in time. The number of children or childcare spaces per thousand has increased from 183.5 to 185.11, which is good news for community. The number of households receiving social assistance has decreased from 635 households to 586. The number of business days from screening to financial eligibility for income and employment supports has reduced from 6 days in 2016 to 5. So we're getting resources to clients sooner, which is also good news. The percent of childcare spaces that are subsidized is stable at 10%, and with both new childcare centers coming in 2018 and additional provincial funds for expansion, we'll expect to see that percentage increasing in 2018. The housing facility capital projects delivered on time and on budget both surpassed the 2016 results at 95%, up from 89.5 and 85.5. And the percentage of waiting list housed increased slightly from 36% to 38%.
Sure, go ahead.
Just on that number of households receiving social assistance, you're projecting 717 for 18?
So as the, it's a little bit of an estimate, the Income Employment Supports Manager, as we're working with introductions to new pieces of programming, we're estimating what could happen. We may see that based on, as actual program pieces come into place, that we'll be adjusting that. But that was what the thinking was around the possible changes. As we modernize that system, we may have more households come on, providing different types of benefits. So not necessarily is everyone receiving an income benefit, some are on for benefit purposes. And so we may see our caseload increase, but not necessarily the overall cost.
So it's more modernization of the plan?
Yes, looking at different pieces of programs. So as they change the regulations, an example is some clients are staying on so that they receive benefits for health and other things that typically would have just gone off when they got some sort of seasonal employment. So it depends on thresholds within the program.
Oh.
So we're just looking at what those numbers are like, but we may, as we understand better what the modernization steps are in 2018, that projection may be adjusted anyways.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the updates around the initiatives. With regard to the service delivery hub approach, a staff group have overseen the development of a conceptual design as well as a site and building condition assessment for the library headquarters feasibility review, and that work will come before committee in Q1 of 2018 as that work continues forward. And then with regard to the transformation of the Ontario Early Years Child and Family Centres, transformation is well underway. In 2017, we did do the needs assessment and official plan, and implementation will continue through 2018. There is nothing new to report with regard to the long-term housing strategy at this point. As mentioned earlier, the integrated housing system is deferred into 2018 business plan. Nothing new to update you in Q4 with regard to the Social Infrastructure Fund. With the modernization of social assistance, there is an update from Q4 where 2 new policies were introduced to align with the social assistance modernization strategy, which included the development of a 6-month reapplication process reinstatement. And so what that does is it reduces administration and waiting time for individuals. So previously it was a brand new application process all over again. But so if someone is on Ontario Works, leaves the program, and then they reapply within 6 months, it's a much more streamlined process that they're going through, so reducing time and cost. The other part was that the application verification process has been updated, and that expedites the process of applications. And so it's taking much more of a risk management approach rather than touching every single piece of paper in every file. So that's really modernizing the business practices there. And the capital updates are there before you as well too, and I can answer any questions if there are any.
Kelly?
I have no comment or question.
Does anyone have any questions of the Human Services? Michael?
I look at the numbers on this long-term housing strategy, and there was a whole bunch of balls in the air with this thing with the federal government, and even now, well, it's not affordable housing, but it leads to it with this rebate that the provincial government comes up for development charges. But I think, wasn't our goal around 10 new units a year?
It's 44 new affordable housing units per year.
44 a year.
44 a year
Well, that's
across the county. So that goal was 445 new affordable units across the 10-year span across the county. Generally, we are reaching that with a combination of different programs that are happening, because even our home repair can be considered a new affordable unit if it means that a senior who couldn't have otherwise stayed in their home now has a new roof or a new furnace or that sort of thing. And so it's keeping things affordable. So there's a continuum there. We are due for an update to that plan. It is legislated that we have to do scheduled updates. So we will be beginning that process towards the end of 2018. So we'll have a new plan effective 2019 that's an update. Of course, in 2018, we're doing the homelessness enumeration, and so that will provide the information and input that we need to really look at, do we need to change the direction or continue on the course that we're on with the last plan?
It's interesting because the federal government made an announcement recently that the money isn't going to flow, I think, till 2019 or 20, that they're going to make something in order of $2.4 billion available for affordable housing. So I guess it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Yes, and we're starting to just see some pieces of that come forward. We will be bringing more information before you. But so the development charges rebate program that was just released, it's only eligible to certain municipalities based on vacancy rates. And so the municipality of Kincardine and the municipality of Saugeen Shores qualify under that program. Just released in January, tight timelines for us to submit something, but we'll pull that together. And the other piece that's just coming out is Housing Services Corporation is being asked to administer some green Ontario infrastructure dollars as well too. So we just received notification of that this week, so we'll be looking at that too. So there is some money that's starting to trickle through for the infrastructure piece, but we don't kind of have an overall plan as to what the next few years looks like.
So the development charges rebate, does, like, our municipality have to do something, or is it handled through the county?
We're working together with the staff at the municipalities that are impacted. And so we will bring some more information forward on that. As I said, it's just come out and we've started to do the background work, but it is starting to move forward.
Okay. And it's significant enough that you're hopeful it will attract more developers for affordable housing.
So the first stage for these, the way that these programs are working is that they're expressions of interest. Oh, yeah. So we have to put forward proposals and business plans, and then we'll hear back if we're going to receive allocations on those.
Your typical process. Okay, thanks.
Nothing else? I think we're halfway through these presentations, and I think it'd only be fitting that we take a 5-minute stretch break. Okay, we just took a little break there in the action, and we're back to looking at the executive committee this is, and we're going to start into the Q4 report of the Rouge County Museum.
Okay. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. So we'll start off with the KPIs for the museum for Q4. So happy to report that we're pretty much on track with where we expected to be. Slightly under projections for the cost per household service, which is great. Our memberships still a strong area for us. They do fluctuate depending on the time of year, but it is still a very strong area for us in terms of community support as well. The community partners increase from our projections, and nice to see that we had a number of new supporters come on board this year with us as well. Social media engagement is trending on the higher end, which is also good for us. And just as of note, we just launched the Instagram campaign as well. So we're starting to see some of the trend going more towards the social media than actual website. While website is still important for us, the actual interaction, higher rate of interaction actually on the social media channels. Number of total visitors, slightly off projection, but higher than we were in 2016. And this number is very much dependent on traffic patterns and travel patterns as well, but still a good strong number for us. In regards to the number of staff completing the Loyalist training, As previously mentioned, we did have a staff member who was enrolled in the program who had left, so that number remains at 0, and that KPI will not be a KPI for us moving forward in 2018. So moving into the overall goals for 2017, again, very happy to report that all of the goals were met. And starting off with our traveling exhibit, the Toys Inside Story, this goal actually and the outcome remains unchanged from Q3. The actual exhibition moved out in Q3. We were fortunate enough to be slightly under budget, and that was predominantly due to the U.S. exchange. This was, as you all are aware, a U.S. Exhibition that we brought in. The revised tourism strategy, again, this was, the action item had been completed, but the actual outcome of the action item, which is to develop a cultural plan for the county, had been postponed and will be coming forward in 2019 deliberations for the budget for a corporate priority for 2019. In regards to the museum strategic plan, we completed the financial feasibility study, which was presented. The findings were presented to council in Q4, November 16, and as council knows, we're moving forward with the next steps in the outcomes from that strategic plan, or the feasibility study rather, starting this quarter as well. The fourth initiative in regards to these fundraising and long-term strategy and short-term strategy goals for fundraising. As council is aware, we move forward with the budget. So we have the development officer position was created. The position was put to the grid and is budgeted for 2018. And we have gone forward with the posting. Actually, the posting just closed last Friday, so the next steps will be to go through and work with HR in the recruitment process. And then in regards to the in-house exhibit for the 150th, the Last Frontier, again, that was part of our Q2 initiative, and that exhibition, which is part of the permanent space in the gallery, that had come off without a hitch. And again, luckily we were under budget in this area, which just meant a less of a draw on the reserves for that project. But the project is up and successful, and is proving to be a very successful area in terms of getting community partners in to do some programming around that. So building the sustainable structures for the exhibits is the strategy that we went with, and it is proving to be a very good strategy for us. In regards to the two in-house exhibits, these are, as council is aware, long-term projects. The train exhibit is now in its 3rd year. We're coming down to the final months with the completion of this project, and it will launch in June 13th. And the First Nations exhibit will be launching in October of this year. So we are on track with both of these projects to be delivered in 2018. With the First Nations project, we've hosted a number of community meetings, and we continue to do that. And actually, as of next Friday, we will be starting our interview process with a number of the knowledge keepers within both Nawash and Saugeen to create the contemporary portion of that exhibition area as well. And the Integrated Energy Performance Project, that started a bit later. We were one of the later buildings to start. We started in September. And we're almost to completion. Some of the few items that are still remaining is the lighting, but we've completed a number of projects in that area. The list is in front of you, including the low flow fixtures for all of the toilets in the building, the recommissioning of the Siemens automated building control system, the humidification, and also the variable airflow on the HVAC units, which excludes the archives unit. But other than that, the lighting is in progress, and we anticipate it should be finished within possibly the next month or so. And that is the report for the museum. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Kathy in the museum? Hearing none at this time. Excellent. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll move on to the library.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to report our Q4 update for library services. We had another successful year reaching out to our residents and connecting in our communities. The KPIs are as expected and within the ranges of what we projected. There are some of note. The electronic database use is quite a bit higher than we projected, which is fantastic. That means we're able to engage with and reach our patrons outside of library hours and outside of library branches. The circulation of online resources is also quite high, and we're happy to see this as we've been investing more in our online resources and are glad to see those are being used quite well. And visits to our website and online catalog is of note, again, higher than projected, and we're happy to see we're able to engage in that as well. For the major initiatives, we had 4. All have been completed. All were within or under budget. The customer survey was completed in the summer. We're still analyzing the results of that and coming up with some action items. The Bookmobile Phase 1 report was presented to the Library Board in December, and we're working on Phase 2, which is fundraising and awareness for that project. We delivered 261 outreach events, reaching over 9,000 people, and our early literacy stations have already been deployed and are in use in 3 more branches. That's my report.
You put your red light on, Kelly, I know you're ready to go.
Through you, Mr. Warden, I would like to recognize again Melissa and her team that at the end of January, that the formal receipt of the full accreditation for the entire county library system was a terrific accomplishment, and moving forward on the Bookmobile as the next big major initiative, I think will be quite exciting. So,
Thank you for that, Kelly. We certainly had the pleasure of attending with Milton, Mitch, and Mike, and yourself down to the library conference when they received the accreditation award. I had no idea hanging out with a bunch of librarians could be so much darn fun. But it was a nice evening, and one of our members said it very well, Melissa, about our Bruce County Library system, that Marzio took us from here to here. Melissa's taken us from here to here. Congratulations, Melissa, your team. So, planning today? Planning department.
Hi, thank you very much, Mr. Warden. It's great to be in this seat and reporting on 2017 when I wasn't the director, so be thoughtful with your questions for me, okay? So looking through the KPIs for 2017 for planning and development, I'll just highlight a few things. With regards to the land use planning applications, we were on target for the total applications. I think you'll see in there with the division between the 3 areas in the county, we see a little bit of a decrease in applications in the peninsula and an increase in the inland, so that keeps those application numbers around the same amount. Some of the other numbers that may be of interest, digging one out here, the community, I had it written on paper, and then you come up here, you have to look at it on the screen. So looking at those numbers, the business inquiries and the outreach, you'll notice those are increased, and we've made a very concerted effort this year to get out to our business community and engage them more in the economic development side. We heard an update earlier on the marketing from the website and social media aspects, and we have broken that down by our department this year in those KPIs. And I think it's nice to note too, in the Spruce the Bruce grants, the leverage that we're starting to see with those grants. We're seeing less projects come forward, but almost double the amount of leverage that we're seeing invested locally by the community. With regards to the projects and major initiatives, they were in front of you prior to my taking the stage here, so you will note that most of them are complete or underway. Corporate policy, we've left in a good state to hand over to the CAO's office with those initiatives complete. In economic development, most, if not all, are underway or complete with the probably the most recent being the BR&E in agriculture, which you had a presentation on this morning to give you an update on. With regards to planning, the Northern Bruce Peninsula mapping and bylaw and official plan was received by Northern Bruce Peninsula just this past week, so it is complete. A number of the other initiatives there have moved into 2018, and it's our intent on the planning side of things to bring a report back to committee in March that looks at our program in land use planning and potentially revises this business plan, or the 2018 business plan, to look at our focus and our priorities in 2018. So you'll see a bit of a shift there with regards to the Bruce County official plan being a priority, the Bruce lens, as was brought up in the CAO's presentation, being the priority, and then to her earlier point as well, how that gets implemented in the local official plans and zoning bylaws will be an outcome of that as well. So if you'll bear with us, we'll be back in a month's time with an update to the 2018 business plan for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Keep the most important to the end, right?
Not necessarily, but thank you, Mr. Warden. Thank you for that thought. Thank you, Mr. Warden. Q4 for what we term highways for 2017, which will be transportation and environmental services in 2018. Oh, thank you, Darlene. Are you going to assist?
No, just go right here. Sorry.
Oh,
Just go right down to the bottom.
yes. Thank you. So our KPIs, Mr. Warden, is we first look at roads naturally, evaluate their condition. Unfortunately, in 2017, we were unable to make that evaluation, the PCI, Pavement Condition Indice. For bridges and culverts, the evaluation, they were undertaken in 2017, but unfortunately, we don't have the results right now. If you recall that we undertake an evaluation on half the bridges and culverts each year. So the work was done, the evaluation was done. We're just putting together the numbers, and we'll have them available in Q1 of this year. Cost to maintain a kilometer of paved roads. Again, that's tied as well as into winter maintenance into the FIR. We'll have that shortly. When it comes to the 1 kilometer of winter maintenance on our roads, we have been peering over Mrs. Dillon's shoulder, and we did spend a bit more than we originally anticipated on winter maintenance. I'm surmising that number is going to be a little higher than we anticipated, probably in that $2,300 a lane kilometer. Years of remaining landfill site capacity. Again, we do report, an annual report. That's a consolidation of all the individual reports. So we'll have that available for 2017 in the fall of 2018. But we're pleased to say we've got a lot of capacity remaining in the county. And we know we've got a couple of municipalities looking at larger landfill site footprints. And so we anticipate that yes. And a large one up in the north. And I imagine that's going to materialize in 2018. But yes, that will have a dramatic effect, I think, on capacity for 18. Tons of MHSW collected because it's a dollar, because it's an amount. We're very firm that for 2017, that value was 148 ton. In terms of initiatives, 4 initiatives to report. The first initiative with respect to the department is we are migrating from in-house construction to contract construction. This year, 2018, we will contract Lucknow Urban, and we will contract the County Road 25 storm management system. So we are moving towards contract construction. We have welcomed the 2 new members of our department that will join us on April 1st, 2018, being the Trails Manager and the Forester. We have finished the JDs for the non-union in the department, and we're just finalizing the organizational chart based on those JDs. Environmental assessment. I think council heard today about our status of the environmental assessment. I believe that we're doing well with the interested parties in our environmental assessment. SON, where I believe we're doing okay with our partners MOE, M&R, and the conservation authorities. Paved road program for 2017, we had a strong program. We finished a lot of big projects, and we didn't finish a number of smaller projects. Moving on to finally the McCurdy Bridge, we're pleased to report that yes, after some work with for a variety of things, we've got organized for the McCurdy Bridge, and the contractor is on site actually putting piles in as we speak. I believe the west abutment is done. They're moving to the east abutment, and naturally they would await the warm waters of the summer to get into the water to do the piers. That, Mr. Warden, is our report.
Any questions of Brian's report? Well, there's always an advantage to going last too, Brian.
I was thinking, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Anything else? Kelly, anything else today, or what happens now?
Through you, Mr. Warden, that is the end of the 2017 annual business plan update. The team have accomplished a great deal again in 2017, and I'm quite pleased with the amount of process improvements that we've made across the organization. And I believe I'm safe in saying all members of the senior management team look forward to seeing the end of year results as much as all of you are likely awaiting those results as well. So we're anticipating it to be a good year financially as well, and we'll bring a report back at that time.
Thank you, Kelly. Anybody have anything else they want to say before we adjourn then? Thank you, everyone, for a riveting Q4 update today. And with that, I think we can have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Milton, second by Mitch. Any discussion? We're adjourned. Thank you again.